It's the Terminator reunion panel at Calgary Expo. Christina Loken, Robert Patrick, Peter Kent, Michael Bean, and Linda Hamilton. Join us. I didn't even get a chance to introduce myself to anyone before I brought them up on stage. I'm AJ, so I'll say hello to my guests as well. I'm AJ. Nice to meet you.
Hi, AJ.
How's it going? Welcome. I'm AJ. I'll be asking a few questions before we go to the floor. A little chaotic here at Calgary Expo, but that makes it more fun.
Excuse me. Sorry.
Nice to meet you. Big fan.
Nice to meet you. Peter Kent?
Yeah.
See you.
Robert Patrick, everyone.
Whew. Well, I've actually met Michael before.
Now you know how to do it.
We talked at Fantasia, perhaps you recall. Is that one working?
This one's working.
There we go.
So's this one.
Well, let me ask you, Linda and Michael, it's got to be nice to be... There we go. Reunited together on stage in front of a crowd. How often does this happen? Is this the first time in a long time?
First time ever.
Ever.
Really?
Four of us.
Doesn't happen enough, that's for sure.
Ah. Well, last year here at Calgary Expo, I got to do something very cool. I got to host a reunion with the cast of Star Trek Next Generation, which has a huge following in the sci-fi community. It was a real highlight for me. But personally, I got to say Terminator is my far favorite franchise. Why?
I hope you told them that.
I didn't. But I didn't know I'd be doing this year when I did that last year. Well, maybe I could get all of your thoughts on why you think this franchise has such longevity and has such a passionate fan base. No? Okay.
Because it's really cool.
I'm not going to even venture a guess there because that would be like against Star Trek, wouldn't it? I mean, they came before us. So they were first, and we're the best. No.
We're the best. Hello. Is it working? It
Yeah.
is working.
I don't know.
Because we're really cool.
I think maybe, the love story, which you don't get to see a lot of that in Star Trek, or if you do, it's all very sort of mind meld instead of like, it was the sex scene, wasn't it?
Was for me.
Well, Robert, I don't mean to interrupt your tweeting if that's what you're doing. You're known for
Please follow me on Twitter.
You're known for playing these menacing characters. Obviously, the T-1000. Do you find people sometimes approach you with hesitancy in real life?
Yes, and that's the way I like it. Thank you very much.
I'm very hesitant.
And it's odd, the better you get to know him, the more hesitant you are to approach him.
True.
Good to know. Well, Peter, you're known for being Arnold Schwarzenegger's stunt double. You have a school for stunt training as well. Do you often get mistaken for Arnold?
Not anymore. Back in the day when I guess I looked a little more like him. This face has been through some reconstructive surgery, so a couple of times. I can remember once back on Commando, Arnold and I were sitting at a table having ice cream, and this lady came up to me, handed me a napkin, and said, "Arnold, would you please sign this for me?" And he was sitting directly across from him, and I thought I was being set up somehow, like it was some sort of a joke. And I looked at him, and I looked at her, and she pushed the pen towards me again. And Arnold said, in his own voice, "Yeah, Arnold, don't be a jerk. Sign it for her." and she still didn't get it. So I signed Arnold Schwarzenegger on the napkin and handed it to her.
Did you know how to spell his last name?
Yes.
That's good.
Well, actually, he just does a kind of a scribbly thing at the end, so it makes it kind of easy.
Well, Christina, you joined with the third film. Kristana, I'm sorry, I apologize.
Quite all right. You're not the first, you're not the last.
You joined with the third film. It's already an established...
Yeah, you keep getting it wrong.
I keep getting it
Or was that Robert? It was Robert. It was Robert.
I won't get it wrong again, I promise.
It's quite all right.
There's only one I in her name.
Kristana. Got it. How did it feel to join this epic franchise and to find out that you're going to be, playing a Terminator, which has got to be such a coveted role?
Yeah, it was and is. Apparently, they said 20,000 people tried out for my job. But for me, it was let it be believable enough that this young female person can kick Arnold's ass. So I just tried to train as much as possible and to be as believable as I could.
Well, I've had the fortunate interview of many, many people in genre, working for Space Channel, and so frequently when asking actresses about strong female characters, their go-to answer is Linda Hamilton as an inspiration. Did you see her as a role model as well?
Look at her. I am no role model.
I didn't go. I think Linda is probably one of the most amazing people I've ever met because she is pure and genuine and real. And that says a lot in this business. But quite frankly, my inspiration actually came from Robert Patrick. And what he did in T2 and his character was, it blew my mind, and in such a way that I wasn't even a action fan. But when I watched his portrayal of that character, I did not see the Robert that I know. And it was honestly, it was a real inspiration. So stop tweeting. No, it really was. You have been an inspiration for me, so.
I love you.
I would like to add, we're just going to sit up here and make each other feel really good about ourselves.
That's what we want to see,
fuck all
basically.
y'all. I would just like to say, I couldn't do what these two people did in that movie. There was a stillness and a deadliness, and there's no part of me that is still. I'm like the Jim Carrey of action stars. It's like, I'm just so mobile, and and I just remember what she's talking about in his performance. And can I give away one of your secrets? He worked on Praying Mantis, and you can see it. You can see it if you go back and look at his performance. You can just see how, just the eyes move, but there's that deadly, he's just the deadly strike that's like a moment away. And okay, so she based hers on him. I could never do that. I just couldn't be that still and deadly. I can be strong and loud and deadly. But you have to give it to them, to each of us, that we have our gifts, and their gifts far surpass mine in a lot of ways, and I love what they did.
I'll give you your money later.
Well, and you asked earlier, why is this franchise so successful? And I think really it's at its heart, it's the love story, and it's the heart that she has for her character and the son. And Kyle Reese, and it's like that's the guts of the story, and the rest of it's just all the bang and whistle. So that's why it's so successful, and the fact that Peter Kemp was Arnold Schwarzenegger's stunt double. That's the other reason. He did the jump coming off with the Harley into the LA River Basin. Yeah. I was there that day. That guy's got balls.
Well, he
He's
had balls
obviously-
until the end of that scene.
Until
and then there was-
the end of the scene.
And
He lost
fortunately,
him
they
during
stayed where
that
they were.
take. He's obviously Canadian.
Yes, I am. Vancouver. And damn proud of it.
Well, let me ask on that front, where do you see the future of these films going? Because so much is now CG. I mean, Arnold appeared in Salvation. entirely CG basically. So is there still a bright future for stunt work? Because there is a new trend of people going back to, audiences have been saturated with CG.
I can tell you something. I was just recently interviewed for the Arnold Fans website. And after they talked to me, they went back and talked to Jim Cameron again. And Jim actually confessed that the scene where I come out of the little pickup truck and run across the back and up the hood of the big rig and blow the windshield out and then jump off to the side, grab the wheel and tip the rig over, surf the rig to the doorway, roll off the rig, roll across the floor and into the OSHA railing there, that whole piece of that sequence. Jim said he wouldn't do that anymore. He said it was far too dangerous. And I didn't know that until I read the interview. The interview came out and I read it and I'm like, well, fuck. So I got thrown into the meat grinder because we didn't have the technology. But there will always be stunts that require an actual human body in there. There's some CG elements, like there's a program called Endorphin where you can make stunt people do things that the human body can't take. Unfortunately or fortunately, you can't actually put a decent face on those characters, so you can use them in crowd scenes and stuff like that. But there will never be a replacement for the actual human body flying through the air, with good reason. So I don't see it. I don't see it ever being taken away. I wore a mask when I doubled Arnold in that bike jumping, and most of that film I wore it for 66 days, which was absolute hell. And nowadays they can just they can CG a face right over yours, or you can, like what they did in Pirates of the Caribbean with all of those crazy characters in there was all CGI. So I would never have to wear that again.
I would, I've done so many action movies and action television, and I've seen so many stunts and car things and so on and so forth, but one of the most difficult stunts I ever saw was the shot of my character, of Reese, basically falling to Earth. And what they did was, and you couldn't do this CGI, I don't think, but they had these two ladders, one ladder here and one ladder here, and like a 4x4 up here, and it was about this high, I would say. And the camera was like low down to the ground here. If you watch that shot, that's a stunt man that's laying on top of that ladder that just comes off and drops about at least 5 to 6 feet square onto the cement. There was nothing there but cement, man.
And buck naked.
If you watch that, and he's buck naked, he's no pads, no nothing, man. And when you watch that, you can see his body just like crumble. And so there will probably always be.
Yeah, that was Pete Carpenter. I think.
Was it? Yeah, that was a tough stunt, man. That was. They only did it once. That's for sure. And it's a great shot. If you notice it, if you notice the movie and you watch it, it's a real low angle, really wide shot. And he had to have been like 5 or 6 feet off the ground. And when you think about shoulders, hips, and legs hitting the cement from that height, I mean, brutal, brutal, brutal.
Well, we are going to go to the floor in a second for questions, but we caught up together in Montreal for a screening of The Victim, your first foray into directing. Obviously, you've got a huge fan base of genre fans. Any plans to direct, produce films with a genre flair to them?
Well, I did Grindhouse with Robert and Quentin Tarantino, and I kind of got the idea to do that. To do it like a little Grindhouse movie. The Victim we made, first of all, what happens a lot of times, you guys probably know about this, but people will offer you a certain amount of money to be in a movie, and they'll give you X amount of money to be in a movie, and you say, okay, I'll be in it, and you think you're going to be in it. Well, basically what they're doing is they're running around and saying, I've got Robert Patrick, or I've got Michael Biehn, or I've got Linda Hamilton in the movie, and they're trying to raise more money, and so the movie never gets made. Well, in this case, the guy actually had the movie, and I said, yeah, okay, I'll make a movie, right? Whatever. And all of a sudden, he started writing checks, and they started clearing, so I had to. So all of a sudden, I had like 3 weeks to write a script. So I wrote a script in 3 weeks, And we went through what they call pre-production, and it's casting, locations, Screen Actors Guild, dealing with the unions, wardrobe, all that kind of stuff, putting your whole crew together. Usually you do that with a script, you know, but we had no script because I was still writing it. And so we had 3 weeks of pre-production while I wrote the script, and we rolled into a 12-day shoot. Now, to give you an idea, the Terminator was considered a low-budget movie back 27 years ago or whatever it was, and that was $6.5 million, and we had 11 weeks. I did mine in 11 days, so when you see it, that's what it is. So, yeah, actually, Jennifer and I, she produced it, the lady I'm with, and she just got done directing a movie, and we're just going to keep going because, like, you know, the studios aren't exactly pounding down my door at the moment, you know, and we have fun doing them, and the Victim turned out really good, and we'll just keep doing them until we can't do them any longer, I guess.
All right. Questions from the floor? I think we got microphones going around. There's one right there.
Hi, my question's for Linda. I'm a massive fan of 80s and 90s action movies, the whole genre, good or bad, I love them all. Recently, there have been a series of movies that brought together all of my favorite actors from the past, all of them being male, though, and that was in the Expendables 1 and 2. There's been rumors, but nothing confirmed. Do you think that Linda Hamilton of the action genre, as well as maybe some friends like Sigourney Weaver, could ever end up in a movie? Say Expendables 4.
Yeah, there has been no official talk about it, but I think we should do a write-in campaign. And all I have to say is that if they do it and they don't include me, I'll be hurt. I would love to do it. I would love to do it, but you know, there's just nothing other than, you know, a lot of speculation and, you know, wishful thinking at this point.
Well, it's interesting now. You've got this connection with your fans through Twitter, through Facebook. You know, actors and performers, entertainers can get that immediate feedback, and now financial support through Kickstarter and Indiegogo, those sort of websites. So, have any of you decided to or investigated any opportunities using that medium at all, or is that a completely pointless question?
No, we've raised money on those sites for our movies that we've done, the low budget movies, the grindhouse movies. It works.
Mine didn't.
Talk to Jennifer.
Where's Jennifer? Can we get an applause for Jennifer?
Let's go back to the floor. We got another question somewhere with a. You can just stand up and.
Hello, welcome to Calgary. It's amazing to see you all here. I've been a fan of the genre since I was a kid, especially the first Terminator movie. I'm going to get quite misty-eyed. Michael, I'm going to tell you right now, you ruined my dating life for the first 2 years. Because it was always like the question you ask your boyfriend, so would you love me enough to travel through time and kill a cyborg for our child that might potentially save the future? So Linda, you guys, it was such a heart-rendering story, and that was the crux of it. So this question, you guys can probably answer the best, but it is for all of you. Sci-fi was kind of in its infancy, in its rebirth at that time. There was not CGI. There was not all the fancy gimmicks they have now. They can fill in so much. Do you think that writing, like the scripts that are coming out, they're coming out less quality, and as actors, your craft is more of a challenge because you have less genuine things to react to because they're like, oh, don't worry, we'll just have green screen, we'll throw this in later, and blah, 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 blah. You've seen it from the 80s to this point. How do you feel as actors that this is affecting the quality of the work that is being written and the challenges for you as actors?
She should moderate the next panel. That's a good question.
Well, for me, all the movies that I did in the 80s had absolutely nothing to look at but blue screen. That was blue screen before there was green screen. You know, I've done some just blistering bad movies. King Kong Lives. there was basically a leg, a hand, and a face that never worked. And so they bought me for like 7 months in case the leg broke down. Do you know what I mean? Because there was nothing to work with. And in a way, I think it actually really challenged me to be a better actress, because you're not just reacting, you're reacting to nothing. You have to build it from the ground up for yourself and then react to it. So, the specificity of that, like, where is Kong's eye? Where is Kong's other hand? Do you know what I mean? That kind of stuff, if you allow it, can really fire, not only fire the imagination, but really sort of fire up your acting skills too. So I'm not saying that there's a big difference for me in between that day and this day, when we went on to do T2, which is probably the most, CGI-laden film that I've done. There was also just such a mixture of, we had the puppets, we had so many other elements that it was even more tedious, because you would have to shoot a scene, for 4 weeks to get the whole effect to put together. They do one shot with a rubberized hole that they plant there on someone, and then, you know what I'm saying? It was tedious, but no real difference. I'm not sure. I'm sure other people have different opinions, though.
No, I second that.
Well, back to the floor. Then we got one right here, second row.
Michael. Yes. Is it easier to kill Terminators or aliens? Which is easiest?
What's with the
Well,
voice?
if you really know your history well, I didn't kill the Terminator. So in my case, it was a lot easier killing aliens.
Well, let's have a bit of a cerebral question for you all then. Since Terminator does deal so much with time travel, if you were offered the opportunity to time travel, would any of you take it, and where would you go? Don't all jump in at once.
I don't do cerebral.
I'd go back to just before you asked me that question so I could have an answer for you.
Well done.
Well, we do have questions from the floor that might be better than mine.
Totally.
There's someone right there.
Hi there.
Hi.
I love King Kong Lives, so I'm.
Get out.
I was a kid and I was a fan of yours, so it was a big,
That
big
was
deal.
painful. That was painful.
There was some talk on Facebook when the list started being announced to guests, and some hope that maybe there would possibly be I believe the quote was an arm wrestling match between the two Sarah Connors. So I'm wondering if you guys had a chance to watch the TV series when it aired, and then your thoughts on how it sort of transitioned from
I'm
the
going
films
to
to the TV
interject
show.
because Linda's the most badass person there is. And I mean, clearly, she's going to win.
I just know that I never want to be in a photograph with Lena Headey. Should definitely take me there. I met her outside yesterday, and someone did ask if, and I have wanted to meet her because I was a fan of hers before she played Sarah Connor. And this fellow asked if he could have a picture with the two Sarah Connors, and I made her take her shoes off, so I wouldn't be older and shorter. You know, you got to equalize it somehow. But I probably could take her.
Oh, Linda, without question. Without question.
Was this really your first time meeting Lena?
Yes. Whoever you are.
That was
Whoever
me
you are.
on
Oh.
stage with you. Over.
Oh.
Yes.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
Oh,
We'll go
yeah,
back
I
to the
had
crowd.
not met her.
Was it awkward at all, or was it really easy?
Not at all.
Yeah?
Not at all. She was very sweet, darling. Actually, she
Should
she
be.
kind of Anna. No, she actually sort of appeared behind me. She went, "Here I am." It was very sweet. By the way, I don't know if Michael remembers the story. This has nothing to do with anything, but
I'm
but
intrigued.
you know But I talk about that kind of, nothing all the time. We met a few years ago on a flight. And Jennifer, do you remember this? Jennifer, his lovely woman, had just come in, and she goes, and I'm like reading a book or something, so we're in the cabin, and she goes, would you mind, could we trade places, because my husband and I looked up, she goes, oh, Linda! And so we played a little joke on Michael because he was a little bit late coming onto the plane. She goes, Michael, this nice lady gave up her seat for you. And he looks down and he goes, oh, and then, there we are. Well, we stood up and we kissed each other hello, and the entire cabin went, oh, it was so cute. Everyone just went, oh.
Ironically, we also met on a plane, Linda.
That's right.
And I also kissed her, and everybody went, oh!
When Kristana and I met on a plane, we were heading up to Vancouver to do different jobs. Wasn't it Vancouver?
Yeah, it was.
To do different jobs, but there we are, seated next to each other, and she looked at me and she went, and I went, you're that. And we got our meals first. I mean, we were not like number one on the seat call, but I tell you, we got the two killer bitches in the in row 4. We got everything first. It was pretty great.
I just remember looking over at Linda and thinking to myself, this is the most beautiful woman I have ever seen.
Right back at you.
It's true.
She and I have to leave now.
We got more questions from the floor. I guess one over there, if you want to stand up and shout it. Oh, you got a mic next to you.
Awesome, thank you. Hi, this question is for Kristana and Linda and Robert, and maybe even Michael, if you want to answer it there too. It's just regarding TV shows. I watched Kristana in Painkiller Jane, and Michael in Last Resort, and Linda in Beauty and the Beast growing up, and I was just wondering, do you have any new projects in the future regarding TV shows, or are any movies in the upcoming future for you that we might be interested in knowing about?
I'm going back to do a little character arc on Lost Girl, Sci-Fi Channel. I'm not sure if I have a hand or not. I did one episode and my hand was sent off to somebody in a box. So I'm not sure if I'll be with Stump or without Stump. I'm not sure, but I look forward to it.
My name's Robert Patrick.
Follow me on Twitter.
I played the T-1000 in Terminator 2. I have a television show I'm doing right now called True Blood. And I play a werewolf named Jackson Hervo, who's Alcide Hervo's daddy. That's how you say it, Hervo.
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 And then I got a movie with Amanda Seyfried coming out, Lovelace, about Linda Lovelace. And
Anybody named Linda.
I've always had a crush on you. Always. It's the only reason I did Terminator 2. That and the fact that I was a completely broke, unknown actor living in Hollywood. And then I'm starting another movie called Endless Love with, oh boy. Matthew or Andrew Pettifer? You guys know the guy?
Don't look at me.
Help me. Anyway, I probably shouldn't have said that. But yeah, but we're doing that. I better learn the guy's name. I play his dad too. It's not like it's an endless love between us or anything. I'm not into those kind of movies. Not anymore.
I don't know how I can top that, really. I got a couple films coming up. One is a film that I also produced. It's called Love Orchard, and it's based on a true story, and it deals with the immigration crisis in America. It's called Love Orchard, like I said. And the other one is Bounty Killer, and it's taken from a graphic novel of the same name. So totally different genres, but hopefully equally as entertaining.
More from the floor, right in the front row.
Hi. Oh, that was loud. I'll just be quieter. My question is actually via my dad for Michael. He discovered, or has known, that you have been in a ton of movies with, Bill Paxton, and wanted to know if there was any reason you guys were in movies a lot together. You guys were in Terminator together, although he had a small role or something. And you've just in a lot of movies. Do you have any stories of why you guys are so matched up together?
We don't talk about this. No pressure.
Let me see. Well, actually, you know, Bill and I are basically the same age, for one thing, and we're both kind of like Robert, you know, masculine, and we. Well, I mean, you know,
I told you I don't make those kind of movies
we're gonna play we're gonna play army guys or tough guys or whatever. And I met Bill on a movie called Lords of Discipline, and at that point, he had already met Jim. They were like painting Jim Cameron. They had been painting sets and stuff, you know, together for Roger Corman's company. So he introduced me to Jim originally at a screening, and we did that. Then we did the Terminator, and of course he played one of the. There are no small roles. He played one of the punks at the beginning, and then we went on and did Aliens together, which he was really brilliant in. He did a great job in that. And that was again Jim Cameron, you know. And then we did this fucking movie called Navy SEALs, which Charlie Sheen was playing in one movie, and I was in another movie, and you know. Anyway. And then I don't know how we got. I think you know, we were just the same age, and then Tombstone. We were in Tombstone together, and Tombstone was a lot of So we've done 5 movies together, and he's just a fabulous, fun guy to work with, and he's actually directing too, and you know, it's just one of those things, you know. Working for Jim, and just that's the way things went. We were the same age at the same time and played the same kind of guys, and so.
Cool.
Yep.
Got one right there. Batman.
Yeah, this one's for Robert. What was the fight scene like in the plant fighting the Terminator?
The conclusion to T2, the big battle.
It was awesome. It was shot over several consecutive weeks. It was getting close to Christmas. Do you remember this at all? Peter Kent was there. And Linda was there, and I was there, and Eddie was there, and there was a lot of Molten Steel and Sparks, and Jim was there, and all the Stan Winston guys, and Industrial Light and Magic. How long did that sequence take? Like 3 months, 2 months, 3 months? And Peter, he'll tell you about this, but I will tell you this story that the rod thing, that I do the St. Michael, you know, kind of beating on Arnold, and his shoulder was up like that, I think, with the prosthetic thing on there. Man, I'm just wailing away. I'm just sending it. And it was.
So you were talking about the other day. You were regretting that ever
I
since.
made the mistake. I knew that we were using a piece of oak, not steel, because you could swing it better and it looked a lot better on camera. And of course, steel would have probably cracked my skull. Anyway, so I put all the pads on that I had in my bag because I knew Robert was in some way going to go to town. But I exacerbated that whole thing by saying to him, as Jim called action, I said, "Go for it." Regretted that about the 3rd stroke in. Because for like 2 weeks after that, I had black and blue marks all over my chest and my shoulders and everything, right through the pads, because he, as you can see in the film, went for it.
So Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. That fight sequence was really insane. I mean, it went between Arnold, it went between the actors and then stunt doubles and then an actor and a double on Arnold's. We'd switch it up depending on where the camera was looking. I can tell you one time that I really pissed James Cameron off in that sequence was I was over at the bowl with a pocket full of M&Ms.
Jim got pissed off?
Yeah. Oh yeah. He never gets
That's
mad.
weird because he's usually such a nice
calm down.
guy.
And
He's Canadian, isn't he?
He is Canadian. That's right. Yeah, here we go. I filled my pockets with chocolate M&Ms, peanut M&Ms, and I forgot to zip the pocket up. And when Jack Gill, who was doubling you, swung me across into the wall right just before you put the fist through the face, a shower of M&Ms went right through frame. And James called, "Cut! Peter, what the fuck is that?" And I was quickly skiffling them away with my feet.
Nice guy.
You didn't want to catch the wrath of that, man.
Did you guys know when you got the script for T2 and you read through it that it would be such a big cultural thing? I mean, the movie is so quotable. It was so iconic. I mean, I was perhaps the right age because I was just old enough to go and see it, but also be terrified by it. Did you know that it would be such a big thing?
Second one?
Yeah.
Yeah, we guessed. I think we guessed. I mean, first time around, never would have guessed.
First time around, I always like to tell this story because I got a call from my agent, and they sent me a script, and I read it, and I thought it was sort of interesting. I talked to my agent, and I said, "Well, who's directing this?" This was before I read it, actually. And they said, "Jim Cameron." I said, "Well, who's Jim Cameron?" And they said, "Well, he's a guy who works for, what's the name of that? Roger Corman. Oh. And he was doing Piranha 2, but he got fired off of it." And I was like, "Oh, he wrote and directed it, huh?" Yeah, right. And Gail, who is she? Well, she worked for Roger Corman's company too. I'm like, right. Okay. Well, who's is anybody set for it? Yeah, Arnold Schwarzenegger is set for it. Now, at that time, you have to remember Arnold Schwarzenegger was not Arnold Schwarzenegger. He had done the Conan series, and when I told my friends I was doing a movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger, they went, "Good, Michael. Very good."
Linda Hamilton.
But Linda wasn't cast yet, and I said, "Okay, well, this is before I read the script. I said, what's the movie about?" "Well, it's about a cyborg robot that goes through time to kill a girl who works at Bob's Big Boy, and you follow her along." And I was just like, "Oh my God!" But I was young and I was broke, and so I went out, and it ended up working out pretty
It was
well.
the best thing you ever did.
I think we got one down this aisle.
Hi, this question's for Linda. The character progression of Sarah Connor going from 1984, the Terminator, to T2 has to be one of the coolest and most drastic character changes that I've ever seen in a sci-fi flick.
Why, thank you very much.
Right on. I was just wondering if you could tell us about what it was like to prepare for that role and take the Sarah Connor role to that level.
Well, I didn't have a great time doing the first one. Loved him. Didn't get along with Jim Cameron very well.
Guess that changed.
Jim, we actually, I think I might be the only actor that's ever taken Jim Cameron off stage and screamed at him because of some moments that we had on the first film. And I basically finished that first film and went, well, that director is definitely on the side of the machines. He's not rooting for the people. And, and there was like no contact between us for all those years in between. So when the second one came around, or the word got out that we were going to do a second one, I was like a minute away from signing on to the second Predator. And I mean, it was literally a moment away. And then I was like, wait a minute. I can't do like T2 and Predator 2 in the same year. You know, that will finish me off. No one will ever hire me for anything but, you know, kick ass. You know, I was like, well, and I met with Jim, and I understood immediately for myself, having been there 7 years before, that if this woman were living with that kind of information, that the world was going to end, and, you know, with information that only she had and that nobody else would believe, that she would be nuts. So that was basically my contribution to that meeting, was like, make her nuts. She's got to be nuts. Make her crazy. She's really crazy. And so Jim went away and he wrote that script and, you know, presented it to me. And now, like, I'm out to here with Baby by this point, you know, and he hands me, I'm doing another movie, and, you know, he hands me this script, and I'm thinking, oh my God, how am I going to do this? This girl is crazy. But, you know,
Perfect.
Hey, down in front. But, you know, I read the script and I just went, oh my God, you know, get me a trainer. Because at this point I'd had the baby and I've got the baby fat on me, and I'm like, I gotta just, you know, get a trainer and do everything that I can. So, and also knowing how hard Jim can be on his actors, having worked with him once before, I just decided to make myself completely, you know, like fail-safe. Like, I was gonna be so ready for this that he was never gonna have to ask me or push me to do anything, and, you know, that's what I did. And I loved, you know, sort of coming full circle. Well, it's not really a circle, but being able to take a character from, you know, this little, I actually had a really Minnie Mouse voice in the first one. I never realized that until looking back at it later. My voice is like this. Can't even do that voice anymore.
It's whiskey and cigarettes.
It's the whiskey and cigarettes. It's worked really well for the rest of my career. But it was great to be able to go from that little Minnie Mouse character to, you know, the kick-ass Sarah Connor, and I loved every minute of it.
For Linda, amazing.
We got time for maybe one, maybe two questions. There's one way at the back there. Way at the back, and then we'll come to the front row for the last one.
I was wondering, you've all had stunt doubles at one point, and one of yours is a stunt double. Has there been a stunt that you're like, that doesn't seem so bad, or that, and then you watch the person do the stunt, and it's like, oh, I see why they did that, and vice versa for the stunt double?
Most challenging stunt maybe that you've done.
I've had an amazing stunt double ever since T3. Her name's Elisa. And I actually just went to her wedding last weekend, and we've remained really good friends. And she won the stunt award that year for our film. And the incredible thing is, people always say, oh, you've done your own stunts, and I do as much as I possibly can, otherwise from being put in jeopardy for production value and that sort of thing, being a liability. But there's a part of it, I think, as an actor that you really thrive upon. Like, you actually like getting beat up a little bit. I mean, I do.
You know, my feeling about this is
At
like,
least.
Tom Cruise does all his own stunts. Bullshit. Bull fucking shit. There's a you know, I've done a lot of fighting, I've done a lot of jumping over things, a lot of rolling around stuff, but there's a difference between that and a stunt. A stunt is something that me as a human being goes, I don't want to fucking do that. I'm not doing that.
I even said that quite a few times.
And that's when guys like this step in and you know, plan it all out and pad up and really do the right thing, because there are, you know, there's just a difference between rolling around and fighting, fake, you know, jumping over stuff, or jumping 4 stories into some boxes or something like that. There's a difference between that and like that stunt that I talked to you about earlier today. And there are a lot of those stunts around. One of my favorite stunts in the Terminator, actually, is, and Jim is so fucking smart. He's so great.
Nice too, really nice.
One of my favorite, it's not really a stunt, but it's like when I'm inside of that clothing store, and I'm putting on the shoes and everything, and then I go out and I go down the fire escape, and I drop from the fire escape about, 15 feet. Well, that's not me. I'm behind the car like this, and the stuntman is up there like that. And he dropped 15 feet, and I come running out with my fucking rifle. So that was one of the cooler kind of like stunt kind of tricks that they pull.
The Western switch, they call it.
Western switch. There you go. And that was a lot of that was fun. But there's a big difference between I believe you know a stunt when you see one, and if you're an actor, you don't want to do it.
Is your question real short because we're totally out of time, but maybe make it quick.
Okay, I wanted to ask you who worked with Jim Cameron, just based on your feedback that he's a nice guy and everything. What compared to other directors you've worked with, I mean, two of my favorite movies are The Terminator and Aliens, so thank you, Michael Biehn, for being in both. But what do you think makes him so brilliant and so good at filmmaking compared to other directors you've worked with? Because his movies are they're fantastic.
I think Linda has some words there.
You know what? I think he knows his audience. I think he is an incredible, like a general. Do you know what I mean? He's got like the next 50 moves planned out, and he knows exactly how to execute everything so that those 50 moves are going to come out just properly. I think he casts his movies really well. I mean, quite frankly, you can read some of his stuff. No, but he really does get, he's very careful with his casting, and he gets people that can really just sort of carry the day if he's distracted and doing, the 50 other things. And I think what makes him really amazing to work with is that he's the first person that's going to take the risk and show you that it doesn't hurt that much. Like, shoot me in the back, Chuck. When my sister, my twin, had to shoot me in the back with a shotgun from an unsafe distance. And Jim stripped off his coat and had the prop man shoot him in the back from an unsafe distance first and go, see, doesn't hurt that much. It really doesn't hurt that much. And he will be like, I want the head to bounce on the floor like this. And he's on the floor bouncing his head off to show people what he wants. And he's the one that's going to go there first before he takes other people with him. And that's the kind of person you want to follow.
Well, as talented as he is not here. You all were. So thank you very much for coming to Calgary Expo. Let him know how much you love him. Keep the applause going. Thanks very much. Thanks for coming to Calgary Expo. Enjoy the rest, everyone.